Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is my TBR for May 2022. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. I'm really excited to share with you all the books that I want to read for May 2022. I've never done a TBR video before, so bear with me as I make my way through this. But I thought it would be fun to share what I want to read this month. I don't know that I'll get through all these books. Maybe I'll switch things up halfway through, who knows? But I thought it'd be fun to share what I want to read and see if any of you all have read any of these books, what your thoughts are, spoiler free. And yeah, I thought it would be interesting. So a lot of times I will post polls on Instagram to figure out what I'm going to read next. So I'll usually pull like 4 different books that I know I want to read soon, and I'll put them on a poll on Instagram, and then I'll read them in the order of the votes that they get. So whichever book has the most votes, I read first, second most, third, and so on and so forth. And so I did a poll on Instagram, and the book that got the most votes was I Owe You One by Sophie Kinsella, which I read in April 2022. And I can certainly, let's see where, I think it's up here. I can definitely link that for you. I literally just finished filming it, so I'm like in this same outfit and everything. But that was the book that had the most votes. So I read that. I really liked it. The book that had the second most was Station 11, which is what I'm currently reading. And then the book that had the third most votes is The Tobacco Wives. I don't know anything about this. I know nothing about this book. I do that a lot. I go to the bookstore. I see book titles, I look them up on Goodreads, I see what their rating is, and I purchase off of the rating. And a lot of times I just don't read the back or the inside flap. And this is one of those books. The name of the book is definitely interesting. The cover of the book is interesting, but I don't know anything about it. So it'll be fun to read. I love how it has like the raw edges. You can't really see that, but it has like the raw edges. I love that. I think that's awesome. So yeah, I'm excited to read this and see what this is about. So this will be the first book that I get to in May 2022. Next is the book that had the least amount of votes on that poll. I don't know that I've heard anyone talking about this one, like on BookTube, or that I have seen it. I think I've definitely seen it posted a few times here on Instagram. No, that's a lie. I'm posting this on YouTube. On Instagram. And have not heard anything about it in a book video here on YouTube. And it is Finlay Donovan is killing it. And I think this was considered like a mystery. Yeah, it says a mystery right on it. It literally says right on it, a mystery. So I don't know what it's about. Most moms are ready to kill someone by 8:30 a.m. on any given morning. That's really interesting. I mean, that's intriguing. I'm definitely intrigued to read this. I liked the title. I thought it was fun. So yeah, it's a mystery. I haven't, again, seen a video about it. I definitely feel like I've seen it posted about a couple times on Instagram, but yeah, I'm curious. I'm definitely curious to see. Next is a book that is in my Instagram challenge. So I've talked about this in a few other book videos that I put here on YouTube, but I did decide to do a Instagram challenge for 2022. And basically what I did is I asked on Instagram for people to recommend books to me. And I created a spread in my reading journal where every month I have one book listed and who recommended it to me. And I have books from April all the way through to September. I do have to post again to get 3 more books for October, November, and December. A lot of times what happens is that people recommend something that I've already read. So I, of course I want them to be books that I haven't read before. And so the one for May that I put in for May that was recommended to me is Homegoing. I don't know what this is about at all. But the cover's gorgeous, and so I'm really intrigued and interested in reading this. If anyone's read this, definitely let me know your thoughts. I feel like I have heard this talked about on BookTube. And I think I've heard good things. So definitely excited to read this. After that, I have just a bunch of random books, like things that I feel like I, again, want to get to reading sooner rather than later. And so I might end up like putting another poll on Instagram. I probably will once I'm done reading Homegoing with these books, or at least some of these books. I think there's more than 4 here. And then kind of reading them in that order again. That tends to like work out well for me. I just enjoy doing that. I feel like it's a way for me to kind of like be connecting with people about like what they like reading, what I'm planning on reading, and all that stuff. So the next one that I definitely want to get to this month of May, is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I did in April read Ugly Love. I did read Verity as well. Those are the only 2 Colleen Hoover books that I've read. I was not a big fan of Verity, but I really, really loved Ugly Love. It was a 5-star read for me. So I'm really intrigued to read another one of her books. I don't know what this is about. That's a lie. I did see a video where it mentioned like one of the themes of the book. It seems like it's going to be a very heavy book. And so I'm intrigued to read it. I did really, really like Ugly Love, so I wanted to make sure I read another one of her books sooner rather than later. So It Ends With Us is going to be the next Colleen Hoover that I read. After that, we have a mystery thriller style book. This was one that was mentioned to me by one of my colleagues. It is a series, and it's a young adult series. I have not read any young adult books in quite a while. And so I'm certainly interested to read this one, and that's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Someone that I work with recommended it to me. I definitely have seen it all over BookTube, all over Instagram. I'm sure, I know that it's very, very popular, and I think that most people have a really good reaction to it, really enjoyed it. So it is a series. I did not purchase the other books in the series. I will if I like this, and I will read them. And a lot of times if I have a series and the books are already out, I do like to read them like through pretty quickly. Again, if you watch my April recap video, I talked about Heartstopper, and I read the first 3 volumes of Heartstopper in April, and I loved them. So if I end up liking this one, that could change what my TBR looks like for April. It could end up being that I have to go to the store, pick up the other books, and read them pretty quickly. But we'll see. We'll see what I think about it. I'm excited to read it, though. Next, we have a book by Sophie Kinsella. I talked about Sophie Kinsella in my April 2022 recap. I've read a lot of Sophie Kinsella years ago when I was really into reading, like early college years, I think. And so I've read several of the Confessions of a Shopaholic series. I've read a bunch of her other standalone books. And in April, I read I Owe You One, which I really liked. And so again, similar to Colleen Hoover, I just want to get into reading another one of her books. And this is one that I have had for a very long time. It is Finding Audrey. Okay, so I bought this. It's hardcover, so I must have bought it like around when it came out. And I actually opened it up, and the receipt is in here, and I bought it in 2016. I bought it in 2016, and I have not read it. I definitely was not reading consistently in 2016. I must have like popped into a store and seen this and thought, oh, I love Sophie Kinsella. This must be a new book. Let me pick it up. And then didn't read it. So I'm excited to read another one of hers. I love this cover. Like, this cover is so, so cute. I really, really like the cover. So I want to read this month. That's definitely something I want to get to. And then the last 2 are books that I also picked up in my my last book haul in March. And I am very curious about this next one, and that is the Atlas 6. This is fantasy. I have not read fantasy in a very long time. I don't know that I love fantasy per se. I think that maybe, I think a lot of fantasy is series, and I think a lot of fantasy are really chunky, thick books. And I have big book fear. I do. And I also have fear of like long series. And so that is a lot of what pulls me away from reading fantasy, I think. The last fantasy book I read, I guess you could consider Game of Thrones fantasy, right? And so that would be that. I read the first Game of Thrones book. I can't remember what it's called. But that was like the last fantasy book I read. I think this is the only one of these, but I feel like I've definitely heard that it's becoming a series, or there's going to be a second book. So I'm intrigued. The cover's gorgeous. The back, it says very little, but what it says, I'm like, yes, I want to know more, And so I'm very interested to see how I like this, and if it will make me want to read more fantasy. We'll see. It's not really where my head has been at with regards to like what's intriguing me. So I'm going to give it a try, and I'll see what I think about it. And then lastly, I have a romance. This one's also a series. I did not pick up the other two. Again, if I like this one, I certainly can. And that is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And this is a really fun series. The idea of this series, I think, is really fun. It's similar, more so similar in a way to like the Kiss Quotient. So I read the Kiss Quotient, I think in March. I really loved it. It was a 5-star read for me. I just fell in love with those characters. I really did. And I ended up hearing that author had, that it's actually a series. And I didn't know what it was series wise, like, okay, are we following these same characters, or like what it is? And I think it was somebody here on YouTube who told me that the other two books are about other characters that were mentioned in that first book. And so that's intriguing. I definitely want to read those other two books, and that's kind of what this one is. So this series is, each book is about a different one of the Brown sisters. And so the first one's about Chloe Brown. The second and the third one are about the other two siblings. So I think that's a really interesting concept. And I do feel like even if I don't like this one, I probably would read the other two, because they're not about the same person, right? They're about a different character. And so that I feel like I would end up probably reading all three. But I'm really curious about this one. I've heard good things about it. I've definitely heard it mentioned on, I feel like, Instagram a lot, and maybe a couple times on BookTube. So this is definitely one that I'm excited to read. I'm hoping to get to in May. And that is it. I think that was 4, 5, 6, 7, that was 8 books. I didn't want to be unrealistic with my TBR. I think I read 8 books or 9 books in April. I think I read 8 books or 9 books in March. And so that kind of seems to be where I fall. And so I figured I'd pick out 8 books and see what happens. Again, there are a couple of like series in here, and so that might kind of end up changing my order or changing the amount of books that I read this month. But I am very excited to read these books that I have here, and then share all my thoughts with you at the end of May. Like I said, if you've read any of these, let me know. Let me know if you like them or didn't. Spoiler free if you can. And as always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.